Hello and welcome to Bite Size History, History of the United Kingdom, brought to you by AI Cast. I'm your host Aidan. This season, we're diving deep into the fascinating Iron Age, a period that saw significant transformations in British society. We'll explore the technological advances, societal changes, and artistic expressions that characterized the era. But first, let's set the stage. The Iron Age in the UK stretched roughly from 800 BC to the Roman invasion in AD 43. This was a time of considerable development, as people began using iron to craft their tools and weapons, spurring advancements in agriculture, warfare, and craftsmanship. Iron replaced bronze as the primary metal for tools and weapons, a shift that reverberated throughout society. Today, in the first episode of this season, we'll cover the origins of the Iron Age in the UK. We'll delve into what caused the shift from the Bronze Age, examine the early stages of the period, and consider how technological advancements and societal changes laid the groundwork for the centuries that followed. To understand the Iron Age's beginnings, we must first explore the decline of the Bronze Age. By around 1200 BC, the British Bronze Age was in full swing, marked by a relatively stable and prosperous society. People across Britain had developed advanced metalworking techniques, with the widespread use of bronze in tools, weapons, and decorative items. However, by 800 BC, the Bronze Age was starting to wane. Several factors contributed to its decline, including the exhaustion of easily accessible tin and copper resources, climate change, and the population's growth, which put increasing pressure on agricultural resources. As the Bronze Age faltered, so too did the long-established trade networks connecting Britain to continental Europe. The weakening of these networks resulted in fewer raw materials reaching Britain, exacerbating existing resource shortages. This decline in trade had broader implications as well. It disrupted the exchange of ideas and technologies, leaving the British Isles increasingly isolated from the rest of Europe. It was against this backdrop that iron emerged as a vital new resource. Iron deposits were more abundant in Britain than copper or tin, which meant it was relatively easy to extract and process. Moreover, iron tools and weapons were more durable and efficient than their bronze counterparts, offering a clear advantage to those who could harness the new technology. Ironworking techniques were first introduced to Britain through contact with continental Europe, specifically the Hallstatt culture that spanned modern-day Austria, Switzerland, and southern Germany. Early Iron Age Britons learned to extract iron ore from the ground, smelt it in furnaces, and then shape it into various forms, such as tools and weapons. Initially, iron production in Britain was small-scale, primarily focused on satisfying local needs. But as the advantages of iron became more apparent, its use and production expanded rapidly, giving rise to new forms of organization and specialization in the society. The Iron Age marked a significant turning point in the history of the UK. The new technology prompted several major societal shifts that shaped the era's trajectory. For one, the adoption of iron tools and weapons allowed for more efficient agriculture and food production. Farmers could now more easily clear land and work the soil, leading to increased agricultural yields. This, in turn, supported larger, more settled communities. At the same time, the Iron Age brought a newfound emphasis on warfare and defense. The adoption of iron weapons and the construction of hill forts, large, fortified settlements located on high ground, suggest a more aggressive and conflict-ridden society than in the Bronze Age. These hill forts became important centers of political power and social organization, with their inhabitants often controlling the surrounding countryside. As the population grew and became more settled, we also see evidence of increased social stratification. In the early Iron Age, burials tended to be relatively simple and egalitarian. However, as time went on, wealthier individuals were buried with more elaborate grave goods, signifying their higher status within the community. The construction of monumental earthworks, such as the famous Uffington White Horse in Oxfordshire, further attests to the rise of powerful and influential leaders capable of mobilizing large groups of people for such projects. These societal changes were also reflected in the economy. As the production of iron increased, so too did the need for specialized labor. Ironworkers, including smelters and smiths, emerged as essential members of the community, providing tools, weapons, and other items to their fellow citizens. The rise of craft specialists and the expansion of trade networks also fostered the growth of more complex and interconnected economies. The Iron Age saw a flourishing of artistic expression and religious beliefs in Britain. Metalwork became more intricate and elaborate, reflecting the mastery of new techniques and materials. Jewelry, such as brooches and torques, was crafted with skill and artistry, often featuring complex, swirling patterns. The famous Battersea shield, discovered in the River Thames, showcases the period's exquisite craftsmanship in its ornate, stylized designs. The religious beliefs of Iron Age Britons were also evolving. The introduction of new deities and religious practices from continental Europe influenced the development of a distinct pantheon of gods and goddesses. The construction of sacred sites, such as the Great Timber Circles found at Flag Fen in Cambridgeshire, attests to the importance of religious practices in people's lives. The archaeological record also provides evidence of ritual practices, such as the deposition of valuable items in rivers or bogs, perhaps as offerings to the gods. These items often include swords, shields, and other metal objects, reflecting the value placed on iron and its symbolic significance within society. The Iron Age laid the foundations for a new chapter in British history. The use of iron revolutionized agriculture, warfare, and craftsmanship, giving rise to more complex societies marked by specialization, social stratification, and increasing population density. The new era was not without its challenges, however. As communities grew, so too did competition for resources and political power, setting the stage for the conflicts and struggles that would come to characterize the later Iron Age. Nevertheless, the period's technological and societal innovations would leave an indelible mark on the history of the UK, setting the stage for the centuries to follow. As we move through this season of the History of the UK podcast, we'll continue to explore the Iron Age's many facets, delving into the period's art, religion, settlement patterns, and more. Be sure to join us for our next episode, when we'll discuss the emergence of ironworking in early Iron Age Britain and the rise of skilled craftspeople who would help shape the era's artistic and technological achievements. Thank you for listening. If you liked the show, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time on Bite Size History.